Hello, my name is Marley, if I haven't said that already, and welcome to the Life Room, which is pretty much just my room, where we're just gonna basically look at life from a God perspective. God put it on my heart to kind of start something, and this kind of came out of a blog that I kind of started writing. I posted some articles, but most of the articles that I was writing were to myself and in my notes. My voice memos and my notes. I don't know if this happens to anybody else, but they take up the most space on my phone. In a generation where everyone is kind of their own news source and expert, and everyone seems to have their own truth, and the truth, capital T, Jesus, has been left out of a lot of places. I'm interested in seeing. I'm like, okay, Lord, well, I know what liberal perspective on this is, the conservative perspective on this is. This YouTuber's perspective, I'm an English major, currently struggling to speak English. Love that. Anyways, this YouTuber's perspective, Anyways, this person's perspective, this other person's perspective, but Lord, what's your perspective on this? Like, what's your perspective on this life thing, Let's just start off really, really quickly with, just a word of encouragement. And I did this idea in me in January, and now it's May. So anyways, kind of sitting and wondering, I'm like, Lord, how do I start this? What do I do? The thing is, start. Proverbs 12:11 that says, "Those who work their land will have abundant food, but those who chase foolish fantasies have no sense." And so it's really important that God establishes the works of our hand. Not that we're working for Him to love us, but when we're doing things in His kingdom, He establishes, blesses those things, the works of our hands, the things that our hands have done. He prepares our hands for battle, and if we're not doing anything, faith without works is dead. And it's not to say that we're like, Lord, look at me, I'm doing all this stuff. No, it's more like, if you're not acting on your faith, then it's not really faith, is it? It's just kind of like a wish. And don't do what I did, which is wait. Do what God has called you to do. If God's called you to do certain things, start looking at it. Start that business. Start whatever it is that God has called you to do. Because He wants to work through you, and He wants to establish the works of your hands. He wants to flow through you. You just have to allow Him to. And part of allowing Him to is to do what it is that He's called you to do. And if you're like, Lord, I don't really know what I am, do the last thing that He's called you to do. If you haven't heard a new word and you're waiting on a new word, continue to make sure that you're doing the last thing that God has called you to do. If you're like, Lord, what's next? And maybe He's just kind of like, you're still not doing what I called you to do before. It was literally, I remember this pastor we were talking, it was my Pastor Mike Todd, for those of you who don't know, but he was talking and he had this message where it basically disobedient, what is disobedience? He's like, no, I'm not being disobedient, but delayed obedience is disobedience. And I was like, oh, right. I want to work in you, and I want to take you to this next place, but there's a lot of things that are just practical. You can't start driving unless you're old enough to start driving. You can't get your full G unless you have your G1 and your G2. There's certain things that are in steps. So basically, welcome to the channel. And Lord, I want to do this. I really do. I don't really know what to do or how to do this. As you can see right now, I'm a little bit everywhere. But that's often the place that God does His best work, where it's kind of like you're taking the first step that He asked you to do. Like Peter didn't know how to walk on water, but he was doing it for a while, and then he looked and sank. But he did it, right? Anyways. And also, if the chair squeaks, so now it doesn't want to squeak, but it's an old drum stool. So if it squeaks, it's the chair. yeah, just thought I'd say that.